This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Good evening. The Bay Area exodus. For the last several years, it's been one of the big stories of our region. For more than a decade, the so-called Great California Exodus has been seeing residents leave our state.
But just drive around and you will see it. Tremendous changes underway in the city.
No reason to stay here when I could go back to family and work remote there.
Those are reports from years ago. Fast forward to today, new census data reveals that the exodus may be over. The numbers show that every Bay Area county, except for Napa, saw population growth last year. More people are moving to the region, among them a woman from Missouri who has just made San Francisco her new home. Max Darrow caught up with her to see what's behind the shift.
New to the Bay Area and San Francisco,
some of the things that we're doing to make the house a little bit homier.
Hunter Benkoski is settling into the place she's happy to now call home.
And I put up the curtains and was just like, oh, like it's so silly that these like textured curtains bring me so much joy.
She and her boyfriend moved to the Bay Area from Missouri in August so he could take a job in the city. He works downtown, she works remotely.
It has been such a treat to be in a walkable city.
And when she told people they were moving here,
it was really interesting seeing the responses of the people around me. Like some people, I would say, I'm moving to San Francisco, and they would go, wow, that's so great, big city, moving out to the West Coast. But I had a surprising number of people that looked at me and were like, oh.
And it turns out a lot of people were having similar conversations throughout the country and beyond right around the same time Hunter was having hers. According to the latest U.S. Census data, every Bay Area county minus Napa County saw population growth from 2023 to 2024. The first time since 2020 where the numbers do not paint a picture of a Bay Area exodus. Jeff Belisario, the executive director of the Bay Area Council Economic Institute, says he's cautiously optimistic about the data.
I think we're trying to better understand if this is a one-year data point in terms of growth. The big piece here from the data that we have is that the foreign immigration numbers are up. The question for me is, who are the types of people coming to our region from abroad? Is it more of the high-tech workers or is it more people in the service economy?
If this is indeed the beginning of a trend.
It's good that we see those population numbers up, but we'd like to see the job numbers be going up at the same rate.
Belisario also says if the region is moving back into growth mode, the creation of more housing will be even more crucial than it currently is.
But I do think there are still massive headwinds around housing affordability, right? There's quality of life issues. There's just the sense that there are very few places to live in our region that are close to job centers.
I walk around every day, and every day the hills still get me.
Aside from the hills.
Oh, it's so nice today.
Hunter admits the cost of living is something she's still getting used to.
I mean, it is expensive. My rent is literally like more than 3 times as much as we paid for my little studio back in St. Louis.
But the life she's carving out here.
Oh, there's the acorn woodpecker. It's right there.
Accented by the little things that make her happy.
He's right up there, you see?
Solidifies her decision to move to the Bay Area.
I can't see myself leaving the Bay Area, honestly.
Planting roots in a region that appears to be ready to grow again.
As for the largest population jump, it was in Santa Clara County with an increase of about 50,000 people. So the cost of living is one of the big reasons people have been leaving California. But a proposal is in the works that would make living here more affordable, at least for renters. San Jose Assemblymember Ash Kalra introduced a new bill today. It would do 3 things. Lower how much rent can go up every year from 10% to 5%, expand current tenant protections to include single-family home rentals, and make current tenant protections permanent. Today, San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie announcing a major change to the city's long-held policy on safe drug supply distribution. City-funded nonprofits will now have to offer counseling and connections to treatment before handing out drug supplies like clean needles, foil, and pipes. They also won't be able to hand out smoking supplies in public places. But critics warn that this will only make the problem of overdoses worse. They credit the city's harm reduction policies for the nearly 22% drop in overdose deaths in San Francisco last year.
We're actually going against the grain because what we're trying to do is to, have the perception that there is no drug use on the streets. But it's not public health, it's not science-based, it's exactly the opposite of what we know works.
We have
to make a change, and this is the first step in that.
The new policy goes into effect on April 30th and applies to all city-funded programs that deal with drug addiction. A lot of uncertainty from Bay Area businesses and consumers after President Trump's newly announced tariffs on nearly all of the U.S.'s trading partners.
Tariffs give our country protection against those that would do us economic harm. If you want your tariff rate to be zero, then you build your product right here in America.
His new policy calls for 10% baseline tariffs on all goods coming into the U.S., and even higher tariffs on goods from China, the EU, and dozens of other countries. The White House officials predict the new tariffs will bring in up to $700 billion a year in new government revenue and bring back manufacturing to the U.S. But experts say it could all backfire and may lead to inflation and higher prices across many industries.
Auto industry immediately is going to be impacted. Electronics, consumer electronics are going to be impacted. Building materials, the real estate is going to be impacted because of the cost of materials are rising. So when you were talking about the core infrastructures and manufacturing, this is why it's going to have the repercussion down the road.
The tariffs are set to go into effect next week. They include Mexico and Canada because they are already excluding, that is, Mexico and Canada because they are already facing a different set of tariffs. So we are still waiting to find out the exact impact here in the Bay Area. But for some business owners, the outlook isn't good. Our Kara St. Cyr spoke with an Oakland-based wine importer who says this isn't a good deal for her or her customers.
And then inside we've got Champagne, Languedoc, Provence.
Christophe Vinegar is bracing for impact.
This is Alsace, and this is probably our best-selling sparkling wine.
She runs Vigneron Imports, a wholesale imported wine company in Oakland that buys directly from small vineyards in France.
We have...
Chris was listening closely as the Trump administration announced sweeping global tariffs.
The tariffs will be not a full reciprocal,
including a 20% tax on goods imported from Europe.
There's no way I can't eat that. And the wineries can't eat that either. So we will have to add on to our wines what we sell it to our customers for.
President Trump says the tariffs will push Americans to buy local, but Chris says that doesn't help local wineries. It actually shoots them in the foot.
There's not enough production domestically. You know, you walk into a fine wine store, 50% of that shop is going to be imported wines and spirits. And the rest is going to be mix of domestic wines or and other countries. So, you know, you don't just suddenly fill those shelves with just domestic made products. It just doesn't work that way.
Adding to that, Chris doesn't understand how these tariffs will be applied. In the past, tariffs were added based on the volume of the imported wine. The new tariffs are based on value. Chris says it's harder to anticipate the cost.
You know, I have a boat on the water with a 40-foot container that's got 1,200 cases of wine on it. So, you know, I don't know what's going to happen.
Dirk Tolsma, the owner of Acre Kitchen and Bar in Oakland, buys his French wine selection from Chris.
So this is around $16 a glass.
Customers will feel the immediate impact, and so would his business.
And the reality at the end of the day is if we have a $15 or $20 glass of wine on the menu right now that's from another country, we wouldn't be able to charge 4 times the amount to cover the tariff costs or increases and still provide that product.
These tariffs come with a lot of unknowns, but one thing Chris knows for sure is that she's got a rocky road ahead.
And track the prices of goods impacted by tariffs yourself on the CBS News website. You can see the potential changes for groceries, cars, and more. That's at cbsnews.com/tariffs. Governor Newsom has been getting some backlash for bashing his own party.
These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic right now.
Could his comments help Democrats in the long run? What one analyst is saying.
And coming up in the First Alert forecast, if you've been enjoying the brief return to winter, which we've been having, temperatures in the low to mid 60s out there today, that's what's coming. That red bullseye on there, That shows you a high degree of confidence. We're about to get a very noticeable warm-up. We'll be here for the weekend, too. I'll show you what that looks like coming up in the First Alert Forecast after this.
There is a new candidate for governor, the former state attorney general and federal secretary of health and human services, Javier Becerra. He is now Javier Becerra. He is joining the growing field of candidates now, hoping to lead the Golden State. He made the announcement in a video release today. He has been considering a run for the governor's office for at least a year. And other notable Democratic candidates who've thrown their hat in the governor's race include former State Senator Tony Atkins, current Lieutenant Governor Alani Kounalakis, former U.S. Representative Katie Porter, and current State Superintendent Tony Thurmond. Now, one notable Republican candidate is Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. Meantime, an interview with Governor Gavin Newsom is getting a lot of attention after he called the Democratic Party's brand toxic. Steve Large has more on the backlash from people in his own party.
These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic right now.
Strong words from Governor Gavin Newsom bashing his own political base.
Democrats, we tend to be a little more judgmental than we should be. This notion of cancel culture, you've been living it.
Newsom's remarks coming during an interview on Real Time with Bill Maher. How does calling his own Democratic base toxic help him in any way?
I'm not sure that it does, but I think what it does do is it forces the Democratic Party to have a reckoning that is long, long overdue.
Republican strategist Mike Madrid says Newsom's attack on his own base is likely not an opening act for a presidential campaign, but an effort to reset his own party's center.
Because he has been such a cultural warrior for the left on these issues, because he has been such a champion, he's uniquely positioned to recenter recalibrate the center of the Democratic Party on these issues.
California Democratic Congressmember Sam Liccardo posted a searing critique of Newsom's interview, writing, Newsom calling the Democratic brand toxic resembles the defendant who pleads for a judge's mercy as an orphan after killing his parents.
Why doesn't Donald Trump? Why doesn't President Trump, the leader of the movement?
Governor Newsom credits Maher for inspiring him to launch his own podcast, interviewing conservative and contentious Republican leaders. As a recent CNN poll showed, among the American public overall, the Democratic Party's favorability rating stands at 29%, a record low.
Why isn't he pushing back?
Gavin Newsom championing a change in his own party.
It's one thing to make noise, but you also have to make sense.
Darren Peck joining me in studio, and my source is telling me, and that would be you being my source, that it's going to heat up.
Yeah. By the weekend.
Okay,
so
good
we're going
timing.
Right back into full-fledged spring. So short little dance with winter, which is still a nice jig there, which is still here. You take a look out the window right now, it looks quiet. Look at a time lapse. This is going back, that's from the top of Mount Diablo, by the way. We don't get bubbling cumulus clouds like that often over the bay. They're out there today. They're going to be there again tomorrow. There is still a chance here that we might even get a stray shower, and I want to use the virtual map to show you what I mean by that. We'll come back here. It's really small. You got to look real close up here in the North Bay, but you're going to see just a few light showers that have been showing up here on the last hour of radar. Let's see if we can get that to loop. Now, I'm going to focus on the North Bay for a second because there you go, right there. Boy, it's not much, is it? But those bubbling little cumulus clouds are enough that they're going to be able to spark off a few isolated showers, and it's going to happen here in the North Bay. Now we're looking at a future cast, and this is taking us through the next few hours. See the timestamp on the bottom right-hand side of your screen? I'll play that one more time. This takes us from now pretty much through about 8, 9 o'clock. You might get a few light showers up here in the North Bay. And then one last thing I've got to show you on our really tight zoomed in view on what might happen in the North Bay tomorrow. This is now tomorrow afternoon. We'll play that game again. Few spotty showers up here. That's it. They won't amount to much, but just know tomorrow afternoon in the North Bay. Don't be surprised if you do get a stray, spotty little shower. Okay, we got to move on. Story is really the temperatures and the warm-up coming our way. Let's visualize what the atmosphere is going to look like and how the temperatures are going to feel across the bay as we take a look at tomorrow. You'll see the color code shows up here, generally in the yellows. And when we look at the actual numbers, the colors we're looking at on here are showing you temperatures that are pretty much in the low 60s. But there is quite a warm-up coming our way. And by the time we make it to Saturday, these numbers will have jumped now into the mid-70s. So this is the jump. By Saturday, you're going to feel the most notable jump in the warm-up that gets you back into spring in a very noticeable way. And then Sunday night, Sunday will be close to this, if not as warm. Sunday night, things are going to change. So let's take a look at how the Pacific is going to try and throw us a little more rain by the time we get there. We've got a system that's way out across the Pacific right now, but we're going to pull that ahead and pause this for a moment on Sunday night late when that just southern trailing edge of the system wants to drag its way through the bay. We'll come in for a closer look and slow it down. Because timing is everything if you're talking about rain on the weekend. Most of Sunday is fine. By Sunday night, now we've got a few light showers that are coming into the North Bay. And then they'll work their way across the rest of the bay. But I think it fizzles out before it even gets down to the Santa Clara Valley. And even at that, this is Monday before sunrise. If we advance this to late morning on Monday, it fizzles out like through 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and we're done. So whatever we do get from that next system, it's not going to be a lot. And most of it's going to happen overnight anyway, late Sunday into early Monday morning, and you're not really going to get a whole lot out of it. All right, let's put that into the context of a 7-day forecast, because it's always interesting when you got a chance of rain, but really the most interesting part of this forecast is right here. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. After going through this brief little return to winter, you're now going to get a fast return to a beautiful weekend. Monday's going to have some leftover clouds, but should be pretty nice. That rain is all before 8 in the morning, so that terrarium is deceiving if you're just looking at the forecast that way. So if the app on your phone is telling you rain's coming in on Monday, it's done by 8 in the morning. Don't fall for it for the rest of the day. At least that's the timing now. And then look back here. When we get back to next week, we're now looking at temperatures that have gone back to the 80s again for some of our inland microclimates. Now, that's our warmest microclimate, obviously. Let's do the same thing for the bay in general. It's a nice warm-up. It's not that warm, but even for like the peninsula, East Bay Shore, your numbers will be going back to the mid-70s by then as well. Juliette, back to you.
All right, thanks so much. Up next, Florida's Todd Golden will coach in his first Final Four on Saturday. Why there will be a strong rooting interest for the Gators in the Bay Area.
This is the Northern California Honda dealers Madness Minute.
Stanford head coach Kyle Smith knows who he'll be rooting for in San Antonio. Florida head coach Todd Golden played for Smith at St. Mary's and then worked under him at Columbia and USF.
If you'll reveal it to me, who is your national championship pick?
Let me think hard on this one. No doubt. Chomp it up. Let's go Gators.
Kyle Smith and Randy Bennett both got to celebrate with Golden last weekend at Chase Center after the Gators punched their ticket to the Final Four.
Todd Golden's like my little brother in some ways, a little 16-year-old gap, and just watching him from recruiting him, coaching him, and then just seeing him, it's a little obviously very surreal, but you got to understand when your protege goes past you. But it was exciting too, and I was shamelessly plugging Stanford along the way as I was glomming onto them.
With the Madness Minute, I'm Vern Glenn.
Mandatory Year 13 has been added to your educational pathway.
An extra year of school? What? We are setting the record straight on some high-profile April Fool's pranks next. Did you fall for any April Fool's jokes? An Australian school principal pulled a hilarious prank on her students for April Fool's Day, and now it's going viral. Principal Kylie Woods delivered some devastating news to a class of 11th grade students. Check out their reaction.
Mandatory Year 13 has been added to your educational pathway, and therefore you will no longer be graduating in 2026. Wollongong High School of the Performing Arts this year was selected to be a part of the 2025 April Fool's Day joke.
Principal Woods did guarantee to the students that they will graduate on time, but judging by the loud groans, they were not amused. And let's set the record straight on some other April Fool's jokes that was circulating online, shall we? Tiger Woods will not be playing in the Masters next week. Duolingo is not hosting a 5-year cruise around the world. Home Depot will definitely not start charging a parking fee. All right, record is straight. Thanks for watching us. The news continues at 9 on PIX Plus or 4 to 4 Cable 12. We'll see you right back here at 11 o'clock. Have a good one.